Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. We are devoting this entire episode to fortune and glory, kids, with the return of the greatest adventurer of all time, in my opinion, for his swan song, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I promise you it's not the years, it's the mileage. Trust me. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow nobody from the show. Nope, instead I have a guest. Zach Parkinson from thegamingoutsiders.com. Zach, you haven't been on this in a while.
No. I'm here to plunder your antiquities.
Ah!
Yeah. Whatever that means.
I don't know, but it sounds very
It sounds more risque when I say it than when Indiana Jones says it.
It did. A little bit. It sounded dirty. Amanda and John and Troy will not be here. I invited Zach because Zach is as much a fan of Indiana Jones as I am, and I'd much rather talk to somebody who loves Indiana Jones than one of those haters that is going to bitch about Russians being in Crystal Skull, and that's the problem. You heard me, Troy.
Is that really Troy has that as an issue?
That's an issue. Yep, Crystal Skull, it doesn't work simply because it's Russians and not Nazis. I'm like, well, Temple of Doom works, and there's no Nazis there.
Right, yeah, it's just some weird voodoo guy.
Yeah. Kalima.
Yes.
I have gone a little bit insane with kind of the media frenzy around this one because apparently it didn't do the same box office as Crystal Skull, so therefore this is a flop, and because it debuted in Cannes and they didn't receive it very well, which is the worst audience, I think, for this particular movie to debut. I thought that was a bad call on their part.
Yeah, it's not really the summer blockbuster crowd over at Cannes or Cons or whatever the hell it is.
They're super artistic. I don't know why they thought that was the right call. I really don't get that. I don't.
No, I don't care if it flops. I still got an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I care. I want it to do well. They are saying that the budget was like $295 million, which is
insane.
Spent entirely on Harrison Ford's face for the first 30 minutes, I guess.
It's gotta be. I don't know what else it would be.
I don't know. It really, the math doesn't check. But I will say, it had a $60 million opening weekend. It's made like $82 million at this point. We're recording this a little after the opening weekend just because that was 4th of July. I wanted to do stuff. And it's the same as like Mission Impossible Fallout. And that was considered a hit, and the budget was stupid. So
hey, it'll do better than The Flash.
Can't do much worse. Really can't.
No.
That was also not a bad movie.
I would not know.
You didn't go see that? You refused?
No, I can't. I can't see movies with CGI dead people brought to life. I can't do it.
CGI dead people brought to life?
Yeah, like the Christopher Reeves cameos.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Hey, it's a spoiler cast, right? You should get spoiled for other movies.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know how you would, if you exist
spoil
on the
everything
internet.
but into Indiana Jones. That would be awesome.
Yes, that'd be cool. I hear Ethan Hunt dies in the next Mission Impossible.
Wouldn't that be wild? That's how you pass the torch right there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Someone's good. I don't know who you pass it to.
He would probably pass it back to himself, I'm sure.
Yeah, if he could.
He would just clone himself. I think that's what they do over there in Scientology, but that's a whole other story. So, Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. Let's talk about this. And remember, you can always find more information at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Join our Facebook group, The Hollywood Outsider, or we're on Twitter at BuyPopcorn. Again, Zach, you can find him every week talking about games at thegamingoutsiders.com. We're going to do this real quick, spoiler-free, and then we're going to jump into all the spoilery goodness because for us, this is a big deal. It's a closing chapter of for me personally, my favorite film franchise. Where's this ranked to you? Why is Indiana Jones special to you? I guess I should ask that.
Oh man, I've never really evaluated it. I mean, it's just you grow up watching the VHS tapes. I was born a little after they were in theaters, so you just watch the VHS tapes on repeat. And then for me as a video gamer, the Indiana Jones games were also very cool. Fate of Atlantis or Emperor's Tomb and stuff. And he's a cool character. I think he works better than a lot of action heroes for me in that he does get the crap kicked out of him all the time, and then he gets back up anyway.
Yeah, he's resilient.
Right. It's super cool, especially for like the era of the 80s action hero. He's pretty much the only one who, allowed himself to get so wrecked. And there's there's an endless charm to Indiana Jones and the music and the adventures and the solving of ancient riddles and it is the bedrock for so much other stuff I love as well.
And where were you on Crystal Skull? Fan of it? Not a fan of it?
I think it is good, not great. I think the first half is great.
Yeah, it actually starts pretty strong. The aliens were a bit much when you actually see them.
Right. The worst part for me is, of course, Mutt Williams swinging through the jungle with monkeys.
There were no monkey moments here.
Thank God. Yeah, and the movie just made a lot of baffling decisions. Crystal Skull with like CGI, like you actually had Shia LaBeouf and Cate Blanchett sword dueling on cars. It's super cool, but then you surrounded it by so much CGI that it made them look fake as well.
It's true. You could tell they were totally on a stage somewhere.
Yeah, so it was a bizarre series of decisions.
And the one thing I've never understood, so you're making a sequel to 3 movies that were really grounded in practical, wild stunts, but mostly practical effects. And you decide to add CGI prairie dogs, monkeys, and fire ants for no good reason other than we can.
Yeah. Inexcusable to do the Paramount fade to a groundhog in that movie.
God.
For instance.
Oh, that's making me mad.
Yeah. But there's so much really great stuff in the first half of Crystal Skull. It just it loses itself.
It does. Yeah, it's trying to do too much, and it gets in its own way a lot. A lot.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It gets in its own way.
I will say, for those that really hated the character of Mutt Williams, the abandoned child of Indiana Jones, and Superman Returns did the same thing, right? They just decided, let's make the lead character deadbeat dad without even realizing it. He's just like, I didn't know I had a man, no, I really got to be a super dad by the end of this. That sucks. It's just a weird way to take these characters, but anyway. So here we go. If you really hated Mutt Williams, you do get some payoff for your hate here in this film.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's so sad.
Hang on, we'll get there. Here's a description, all right? Here's what this one's about. In 1944, Germany has lost. Spoiler alert, they did lose.
Real life?
We open with a rousing train chase sequence as a de-aged Harrison Ford stars as Indiana Jones, who is trying to escape Nazis while saving fellow archaeologist Basil Shaw. He's a new character, and the treasure known as the Antikythera. And I'm going to say that probably wrong at least 20 times. I don't want any email. I don't care. All right? Antikythera, right? Is that right? Close?
I can't. It's a weird word. Antikythera? I feel like you almost don't pronounce that H, but I can't remember now. I only saw the movie once, unlike you.
Yeah, I saw it twice already. I love Indiana Jones. Well, supposedly when completed, this device can detect fissures in time. So the Antikythera is saved, and Jürgen Voller seems to be killed. That's Mads Mikkelsen. Fast forward to 1969, Dr. Henry Jones is a retiring professor whose son has died in Vietnam and is being forced to divorce his wife, Marion. We'll come back to that in the spoilery section. Along comes Helena Shaw, who's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and she wants the Antikythera for her own fortune and glory. She's the daughter of his fellow archaeologist Basil Shaw, and also Henry Jones is the godfather to Shaw, but he hasn't seen her since she was a little girl. She wants it for her own fortune and glory, and events happen. Indy's wanted for murder, and he must join up for another adventure with Shaw that takes more than a few wild turns. So, Zach, we're going to jump into spoilers, but I just want, for anybody that's listening and just wants to know what you think of it, and then they want to turn the podcast off, overall thoughts on Dial of Destiny, spoiler-free.
High-level thoughts, I think it is very good. I think the ending is great. We'll get into it, but the CGI de-aging is distracting in the beginning. But the sequence itself is super cool. So the movie starts with this excellent action sequence and then just kind of keeps going from there. It's got a cool pace. My favorite thing about it is that it is not a nostalgia movie, as so many of these like legacy sequels are. Mm-hmm. This feels like an actual sequel, like an actual furthering of the story of Indiana Jones. So I think if you're sick of the constant nostalgic bait summer blockbusters, this movie is kind of a breath of fresh air in that regard.
Yeah, I will echo and duplicate every thought. The pace was fantastic. There were a lot of moments in Crystal Skull, and I would say Last Crusade, that I thought kind of drug on a little bit. I don't get that feeling here. I've seen it twice, and I was engaged both times from start to finish. It really moves smoothly. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a wonderful addition to this whole series. Like, I had no qualms jumping ship and going to watch her in some kind of spinoff somewhere. Maybe with Short Round, since they never seem to remember he's part of this.
Wombat and Short Round. The adventures continue.
I would watch the hell out of it. A lot of fun. Even at the last half really takes a wild swing. I mean, a wild swing. And it still works for me a lot. So, I mean, I loved it. So if $10 is the full price of admission, where would you score this? You got to do it on our system. What would you do?
Oh, man. No, you guys do 50 cents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would do probably $8.50.
That's about where I'm at. Pretty close to $9, but we'll go $8.50. Yep. Loved it.
Good, great minds think alike. And all that.
I guess. All right, spoilers are open. So you talked about that CGI sequence, the de-aging, right?
Uh-huh.
Where they de-age. Well, I guess they had to de-age Mads Mikkelsen too, but he just is a good-looking dude.
I don't know if they did. I feel like they aged him with the gray hair later.
He got quite the reprieve then.
I feel like. I mean,
he just looks fantastic many years later. I guess he's master race and all.
There you go. It's that Aryan blood.
Yeah, I guess it's all that Nazism in him.
Uh-oh. We get canceled. The show's over.
No, I hate Nazis. Just clarifying in case you misunderstood that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many Nazis die in this movie. It's awesome.
So
big fan.
So many.
Big fan of watching, as Indiana Jones says, too many Nazis.
Yep. Too many. One is too many. So, did you like this whole sequence? I mean, I will say the CGI I thought was phenomenal overall. The distraction part, the uncanny valley, if you will, the part that takes you out of it, to me is the voice, because they didn't de-age his voice in any way, shape, or form. He still sounds like 80-year-old Harrison Ford.
Right. Nor did they de-age his old man hunch when he's like closing doors and stuff. So that's also distracting because he still moves like an idiot. I mean, sometimes he moves like a CGI character, like when he's running on top of the train and stuff.
Yeah.
But then other times he's moving like an 80-year-old dude, but he's got the weird 35-year-old face. I say for me, the CGI did not really work. I mean, it's the best de-aging CG has ever looked. I can say that. But and it works pretty well in the dark. But anytime there's like an explosion or when he's outside in the sun, it's distractingly cartoony for me. The lighting just, I don't know, it just looks too fake. But which is a shame because I think the sequence itself is fun as hell.
I honestly think the sequence is probably one of the best of the whole series. It's a fantastic sequence overall.
Yeah, I think the opening is exceptional. The first 30 minutes, you're just getting so revved and ready. It doesn't do the Indiana Jones thing that I love in the original trilogy, where every movie opened with like the end of his last adventure.
Yeah.
This is kind of set up for the one we're watching, but that's okay because it was pretty kick-ass.
I mean, it was similar in context, right? You did get if you feel like you got two Indiana Jones adventures in one movie, as usual.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I stand corrected because it's not like Crystal Skull did open where it was the Russians kidnapping him, right? And that was the adventure we were on. So this is a little bit more of, an adventure that ended that now, it's coming back to haunt him in the present, as it were.
Yeah, what are you going to do? I really dug this scene. I like the setup. I don't know quite how I felt about this whole, because I knew as soon as they introduced the Antikythera, we were going to be headed toward time. I knew time was a factor. I think it's an interesting dynamic. I was really concerned that they were going to play too much with the whole time because of his age, because of his own, aging, his mortality, how in the end, we were going to get more age jokes like we got in Crystal Skull, which I think was probably a problem in that movie. They just did it too much. But here it was really about a guy wrestling with his own legacy and his own mortality. And, am I just done? Have I just given up? Is it just time for me to go, at this point?
Yeah.
And
so really wrestling with the lifetime of mistakes that we all have to face,
Yeah. You have to face it. You have to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think the Antikythera looked super cool, like a little clock thing. So it was a fun MacGuffin, and we'll get into it later. But I really like the way it makes the third act bonkers.
It's absolutely bonkers too. So, what did you think about killing Mutt Williams? I mean, Shia LaBeouf. I really think when he went on his press tour when Crystal Skull came out and decided to just kind of trash that movie. Feels like Harrison Ford called him, and I quote, a fucking idiot. So
I do remember that.
he's we always knew he wasn't coming back. You know, what did you think about that take?
What I also remember the weird thing, like Shia LaBeouf in interviews, like, yeah, the plans to give me, have me take off the hat and whip next, and Harrison Ford's like, he said what? Yeah, the pry from my cold dead hands. It's good. Yeah, it sounds like which is weird because I feel like they have good chemistry in the movie. So I guess it's just like after the movie, I guess they just ended up hating each other or something. But anyway,
yeah,
I like Mutt. I'm the right age for Shia LaBeouf to be a movie star for me because Transformers came out when I was 16.
Sure.
So I approve of Shia LaBeouf's career until he went crazy, and I liked Mutt, and I never liked the idea of him being the next Indy or anything, but I guess I wasn't expecting him to be killed off. But they use it to great effect. You really see the sadness of Indy there, and it makes sense with their relationship. That when he said he went off to Vietnam basically to spite
to piss him
his
off.
dad.
Yeah,
that totally tracks because I'm sure that they didn't have the easiest relationship even after Crystal Skull. But it was it was heartbreaking. For sure. I didn't expect it. You would think Mutt being in the jungle, he's got a lot of experience with the monkeys swinging around and stuff. He'd probably be okay in Vietnam, you would think, but
yeah, one would think.
He's one with the jungle. That's what I heard.
You'd think he'd find a few monkeys to save him, but hey, what are you going to do? Yeah, I thought that was weird. I just assumed I knew he wasn't going to beat it. I figured we would go the route of, he's off, or he's in Vietnam, or he's off doing something. He's on his own adventure. Just a brief mention. I really didn't think they were going to go that route. Like, they completely killed him off, almost to say, Shia, you have zero shot of ever coming back to this franchise.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but with the Antikythera, kind of guiding us towards time travel, I was like, oh no, are they going to do this terrible thing where he goes back and like saves the Mutt? Or
yeah,
I really was worried we were going to do like, oh no, he's fallen through all of the movie's events now, But luckily we dodged that.
I had a lot of worries once they introduced time as I'm like, okay, especially once you see the de-aging and you basically know what the artifact is. I'm like, oh my God, no. Because now that they have this option to de-age, I'm just worried that we are going to do what you said, pop through all the other movies. The only way I would be okay with it is if they actually stopped by and said hi to Short Round, who's obviously just waiting on a bench somewhere for Indy to pick him up still. Jesus. Yeah.
That's just about the only cameo I would have been cool with. Yeah, I was like, is it going to go back in time? And actually, that treasure hunter that gave him his hat originally, was that actually him? It's a closed loop.
Oh,
like all kinds of worries running through my head. God. Dude, if this is a Warner Brothers movie, that's
Kennedy was totally thinking about it. You know that.
That would have. James Mangold wasn't there. This would have happened.
Yeah. God bless him. God bless him.
Holy crap.
By the way, he's the director. If we didn't mention it, James Mangold, who has done some wonderful work. He did the masterful Logan and took a lot of shit for this movie before it even was seen. People were saying that there was all these test endings, and he was like, no, there wasn't. That's not true. We hadn't tested the movie yet. But people have their opinions, and they hear it on the internet, so it must be factual. He's taking a lot of shit for this movie.
Most of film journalism at this point just seems to be made up.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I heard from a guy that they changed the whole ending. I heard they cut Short Round. Actually, he was originally in it. Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, honestly, I could see Kathleen Kennedy doing that at this point. She just doesn't seem to know what fans need or want. I'm sorry, shouldn't say that. But look at Star Wars. It's a cluster.
Yeah, look at Star Wars. I can't even do Star Wars anymore.
So what? Are you happy they chose this then to go with the Antikythera and to deal with Archimedes? Yeah, say that 3 times real fast. To go back in time, that whole wonky final end, which should have been, honestly, it should have sucked. Everything about that just should not work, and I think it worked great.
I'm with you. I was very worried with the Antikythera. I think in lesser hands, it would have absolutely been an instrument for fan service. But I thought it worked well because it opens up this potential time travel, but actually it only goes to one fixed point in time, right? It's just Archimedes calling for help. I think that was a cool subversion because it was never going to be able to do what the Nazis wanted it to do.
Yeah, and it's going to piss off every single person that ever figures this out. This poor guy is going to see everybody in the future. It's like, this is the one stop. It's the only stop we can do.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's super cool. Like almost like a closed loop or whatever it would be. But yeah, so I thought the Antikythera was awesome in that regard. And it's a little, yeah, I guess it was just very nice in our modern culture. It felt like an intentional rebuke of the idea of the fan service sequel, on a meta level.
Well, and it actually gave Indy kind of a look at everything he had spent his whole life chasing. He's been living in the past his entire life, and now here he is coming to the end of his life, and he finally gets to see the past, and he just wants to live there for his own personal reasons. He wants to just die in what he loves. But, thankfully, Helena is smart enough to know that the butterfly effect exists, and his real love is back in 1969. Just needs to work some stuff out. But it was cool to see him just begging to just let me die here. Just let me be. And I thought everybody in the audience thought he was definitely going to die in the past.
Well, yeah, they even play the heroic music swell, right? When he's putting on his hat and saying he's going to stay, or he's like, I have to do this. I would not have been upset at that ending, but I think the ending we got was definitely far better. Of, you have to let history go. History is where it is, for a reason. It builds our present.
What I loved about how it ended is Helena did exactly what Indy would have done if he was in her shoes. He would not have let that stand back in.
Yes, if that was Henry Jones Sr., he absolutely would have knocked his ass out and dragged on the plane. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And so it's a satisfying end of the arc for both Indy and Helena in that regard, which is super, super cool.
Yeah, I thought you're saying super cool. I'm going to start doing a shot every time you say that.
I got to stop. Oh no, I got to stop that.
I was waiting.
It was just a really super cool movie, man.
It was. I was waiting for CGI Sean Connery to pop up at some point.
Oh my god, that'd be horrifying.
Hey, Indy, you don't want to go back to the past.
Well, it wouldn't put it past Disney, right? They brought back Tarkin.
They bring back everybody. Princess Leia. Oh, I remember that. The glow.
Oh my god, it's horrifying. It's a horrifying world we live in. I do not
let
like
people be dead. Just let it happen.
Learn to let it go, much like this movie is telling you to do.
So which is ironic because Disney is incapable of that.
Right.
Harrison Ford's, they're never making another Indiana Jones. Sure they aren't, Harrison. They're just not going to do it while you're alive. But
yes,
trust me,
exactly.
They are tracking every health update you have. They're
looking at every actor 20 and be like, I don't know, is he chiseled enough?
Exactly. Can we get him on contract now and just wait? And once Harrison goes, we'll just, hey, this will be an honor for Harrison Ford moment kind of thing.
I don't know, man. The way Harrison's going, he might not die until he's about 150 years old.
I think he still looks great.
He's refusing to die.
For 80 years old, I wish I was in as good a shape as he is.
Right, man. He's jiving and shaking in 1923. He's got like 2 TV shows right now. Yeah. He's working harder than ever.
Everybody keeps giving him shit about he's too old for this and he's too old for that. And I'm like, no, I think he's good. Speaking of, let's jump on that. So the stunts, they've got this almost 80-year-old man when they filmed it, and everybody's saying he's too old for this. Everybody makes the same stupid jokes. And Jones and the broken hip. Do you think they pulled it off? Because I think they actually did a pretty good job of giving him things to do that are adventures where he doesn't necessarily have to actually run around a lot.
Yeah, I guess as a compliment to the movie, I didn't really notice him, being old during any of the stunts or action work. So, yeah, I would say it was successful in that way. I'm not, there's nothing as extravagant as, say, like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, working his way under the truck while it's still in motion or whatever.
That would have been a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
so tired. I'm so tired. I can't make it to the back of the truck.
Just let me go. No, so I thought the movie was very smart. It never presented a situation where I was like, "There's no way Indy couldn't do that." So yeah, I think it absolutely worked in that way.
I did love that he brought his whip, and it's basically worthless at this point in time.
Right, he's whipping the arms dealers and stuff.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, we all are packing these days, man. Sorry."
Yeah.
That was a good moment, though. Good moment. The stunts I thought were great. We had a great car chase in Tangier. I thought there was a nice nod to Atlantis underwater, right? I felt like that was a nod to it, kind of to the game.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Having an underwater sequence. And, Antonio Banderas, I'm trying to figure out why he took this job, because I think he has 2 lines.
I think he just wanted to be an Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would have done it if I was a megastar and they came to me and said, hey, you give 2 lines, you'd be an Indiana Jones movie. Yes, please. I'm in.
Right. I mean, I'm saying it's entirely possible he heard they were making this movie. He's like, give me any role.
Yeah.
Just put me in this movie.
Yes. If you need, I would be Puss in Boots.
That would have been awesome.
What if he shows up?
But you know what I love about Antonio
Why
Banderas?
is Zorro here all of a sudden? This is so weird.
I was waiting for him. Just put on the hat.
Yeah.
When he's like, I got an old friend they could take with a boat or whatever. I was like, oh, which cameo will it be? But no, it was just a new character.
Yeah.
And it was a nice reminder of like Indiana Jones has had 100 adventures we haven't seen.
It's true. But I would have rather it was Short Round and we had a stupid cameo, because this really makes me mad that we never hear. Like, don't mention him. This kid followed you all over the world, man. Where is this kid? Did he die? Was he sold to some kind of trafficker or something?
He never saw him again after the kid went for fortune and glory, and it ended him early.
Apparently.
Bad news.
You'd think you'd been married and it'd be like, I heard rumors you like hung out with a kid for a while. What was that about? You never even hear that conversation.
Yeah, I guess that would be a little weird. I mean, look, I would have loved a Short Round cameo, but it would have been hard to make it work and not make it feel like fan service or something. But I guess my heart isn't impervious. I would have also been excited to see it. Like he just runs into him on the adventure. He's wearing a similar jacket or something.
Well, sell us fan service.
Yeah, I guess you could have made it work. Yes, but I wanted to be more than just a boat guy.
I think it's great. Antonio Banderas shows up, and everybody's waiting for him to do something cool, and all he does is go for a dip and get shot.
Yeah, all he does is die.
Yeah. But I did like that we stopped and actually had a character acknowledge, a friend of mine just died while you're having a great conversation and having a lot of fun. My buddy just died. Like, mortality is in his mind at all times in this movie, unlike the past.
No, that's a great observation.
All right, so let's talk about the characters. So you got Mads Mikkelsen as Voller and his goons. You got Boyd Holbrook, who shows up, which he's always kind of a fun addition. And then you've got this big, massive guy who apparently is just the mountain from Game of Thrones. I don't know.
That's the Indiana Jones villain setup, right? You got the main guy, the 2 gung-ho sidekick, and then the big muscle guy who has to die dramatically later on.
Gets straight up murdered underwater by a kid.
It's pretty cool.
Just handcuffs his ass. Bye.
It was so vicious too. That's a hard way to go, man.
Yeah, you got duped. You had to throw handcuffs on this little kid, man, with this really weird mustache. So that's on you.
The mustache was weird.
It was. I'm like, can somebody just tell him to shave that? Because I mean, it looks creepy. Even on a kid, that's not a good mustache.
But props to Mads Mikkelsen, man. I think Voller might be my favorite villain of the franchise.
Whoa.
Yeah, hey.
Over Mola Ram?
I'm sorry to say. I love his little obsession with physics, and he's the idea of the Nazi that loves Nazism so much that he wants to kill the Fuhrer is just delightful to me. It's just, I believe in German supremacy so much that I cannot trust the Fuhrer.
Man, that moment he had with waiter in the hotel room where he's like, Hitler didn't win, or you didn't win the war, Hitler lost it.
Yes.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and I like the reformed Nazi scientist who helped us get to the moon, which is no doubt things that happen in real life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, I've liked Voller an awful lot. It helps because Mads Mikkelsen is just a charming screen presence, no matter, even if he's Hannibal Lecter, you're like, man, I just like this guy. It's just, he's a very good villain.
What was your favorite Voller moment then, since you loved him so much?
Well, I think you just said it.
Oh, okay.
That moment with talking to the very, obviously black waiter about how, especially in the way he's like talking him down, is like, do you feel like you won?
Oh man.
Here you are serving me food, and then
just makes you want to punch him in the throat the whole time.
Exactly.
Every time he's speaking. Yeah.
It's so good. And I like later on with the Continental Drift scene where he's like doing the math in his head. He's like, oh crap, Indy Jones might be right about this.
Why didn't I listen to the guy who spent his whole life doing this? Damn it. I thought I'm so smart. I think I love really when Helena Shaw leaps in the car on Tangier and grabs his tie and his choke from the back of the car. And his facial reactions are just like, oh my God, I might go. This is awful. I thought that was a great moment.
That's what I think makes him a fun villain. He's obviously not the getting his hands dirty himself sort of dude.
Nope.
Which, I don't know. His scumbaggery was next level to me.
It was pretty good. And I liked that everything was based in mathematics. It wasn't some deep-seated religious artifact or anything else. He was pursuing it because it was mathematically accurate in his mind. Right.
He thought it was going to take him back to just the right day.
Like it was the DeLorean or something.
I guess Basil Shaw did come to the same conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is random, but that second flashback scene where it's Indiana Jones with the CGI face and they just gave him gray hair.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I was like, well, he still got the smooth face from when he was 35, but you just toss a little gray on there. You think everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay, now he's ancient.
Just frost the tips, man.
It's like, why couldn't you just put some makeup on Harrison Ford?
I mean, it wasn't even that long before that. It was actually probably around Crystal Skull time or around.
Yeah, probably.
I did have a friend of mine ask me, why couldn't they just stay with characters that were already in the universe? And I'm like, every Indiana Jones movie has new characters. That's kind of one of the beautiful things of it. Yeah,
that's why I was so happy with the sequel. Because Crystal Skull felt much happier, with, hey, Marion's back.
It was throwback.
Yeah. Hey, remember, he doesn't like snakes. Wouldn't it be crazy if he grabbed one like a vine to get out of this quicksand?
Yeah, that was a stupid moment.
It was pretty stupid.
Like here, this worked. I mean, when they have the eels in there and they're kind of, his obvious fear of anything slippery and slimy. Oh. That was so much more terrifying, I think, when he's in the water trapped with the eels than anything with throwing the snake. Grab it, and Shia's awkward. Just grab it, and he's just holding the snake just like it is a rope. It was the dumbest thing ever. The snakes don't just sit there waiting for you to grab them.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb, man.
Sorry. Just got back on that. Just made me mad. What'd you think of Short Round 2.0? Teddy here.
Teddy was okay. I like, he didn't light my world on fire or anything. But I liked him for Helena, to show us a little bit. It sold more of the, the reflection of Indiana Jones that she is, this younger, kind of more. She reminded me of Nathan Drake a lot.
Oh.
If you ever played the Uncharted games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the way in the first game or the prequel, the way he's always just conning people. But I think giving her the sidekick, showed us it made the comparisons more obvious between her and Indiana Jones, I guess. And I like that that they set up his love of airplanes before he eventually flies a plane.
Yeah.
So that way it's not totally ridiculous when he starts taking flight.
Yeah, I wanted to call that scene just foreshadowing. This whole scene is foreshadowing. I'm like, because the first time I saw it, I remember thinking to myself, what the hell is this kid's learning how to fly a plane from this guy? And then, of course, they fly one later. I'm like, oh. And then I watched the second time, and I kind of groaned when that comes up because it is, okay, this is ridiculous. This kid can fly that plane. Have you ever seen somebody fly a plane? It is not as easy as they made it look.
While I will say you're correct, I did like that they gave the actual pilot of the plane, was asleep in the back. So, he could come up front and help any mistakes that Teddy might make. So I think they kind of thought it through. It's a little goofy, of course. But you know what? If it was Short Round doing a Temple of Doom, we all would have clapped.
And it would have been the right thing. it just would have passed.
He's pretty good. He's a pretty cool kid.
I'm just saying, Short Round and Willie are really kind of heroes of Temple of Doom. They don't get the appreciation they deserve.
So I'm beginning to think the Temple of Doom is your favorite Indiana Jones movie.
It might be. It might be. And I'll even go on the record. I like Willie more than Marion. Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is madness.
I do. What did Marion ever do? Nothing.
I don't know, man. That smile is next level.
I get that she's a beautiful woman and very charming and everything else, but in terms of helping Indy, she did not help him one iota. Willie was helping him all the way. She was opening levers. She got him antidote. Bam, bam, bam. She's constantly saving his life.
Never thought about it, but yes, Marion does not do a whole lot of assisting in that movie. That is correct.
Does not do any assists. None. But hey,
Darn.
I'm not knocking her. Let's talk about her.
No.
Did you like Salah coming back? What about Marion?
Well, I like Salah coming back. I like that, they kind of reflected real world turmoil in Egypt at that time, and how Indy kind of helped bring him over to America. That was a nice touch. But yeah, if we're just gonna jump to Marion, I mean, she's the linchpin of the ending to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's only very briefly in the movie. She's obviously mentioned earlier. But I think she was necessary for the closure of the ending, for Indiana Jones to remember that he has something worth living for. Their callback to the first movie.
Oh my God!
Where doesn't it hurt? That's when I teared up in the theater. I thought that was just beautiful, and maybe the resolution came. I guess people could argue the resolution came a little bit easy, but. It just seemed like all she ever wanted was her husband, and he emotionally vacated when Mutt died.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I agree with everything you said. I wept as soon as the callback to everything hurts and where does it hurt and where doesn't it hurt. Just that whole throwback to Raiders where they first kiss and Raiders is just a beautiful moment. I mean, it got me right in the heart because as soon as it started, I'm like, this is what's gonna happen. Like a total idiot. Second time worked just as well, maybe even a little bit more. But I forgot what I was talking. Oh, what I loved about the whole moment was, I feel like when he's talking to Helena on the boat and he's telling her if she went back in time, what would he do? He would tell his son not to go to Vietnam because he would be killed and his mother would be crushed, and it would tear their marriage apart. And he's really not facing what he should be facing, which is, I couldn't deal with his death. Because I blame myself. I didn't do enough, that sort of thing to stop him. I didn't, this crushed him. Everything he says is how it affects really other factors. And he just doesn't want to admit or accept or deal with his own heartbreak. And by the end of the movie, I think he has, and he understands that there is more to him than just that loss. It's a beautiful moment. And I really, really feel like she's just asking him, because the whole time I think you get the impression that she left him because she couldn't deal with it. And really it was him that couldn't deal with it.
Right.
Is that how you took it? Did you see it different than I did?
No. I think you're totally on the money. And I think when he's talking about Mutt, he does kind of say something along the lines of, because his father wouldn't know how to be there for his mother or something like that. I can't remember the exact line. So he seems aware of it, but he also seems to refuse facing it, and then by the end, through this adventure, maybe because of seeing Helena, a goddaughter that he also wasn't there for, maybe he was reminded that you can live for yourself by living for other people as well.
Yeah,
because when old man Harrison Ford is like tearing up, saying when Helena I had to bring you back. And he's like, for who?
God, that was so good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to that, his whole performance, but man, that was so good.
Absolutely. So Marion, love seeing her. Great end to the arc of the movie.
And the actual line, since you brought it up, I would tell him that he would die, that his mother would be overcome with a grief so intense that his father would be unable to console her, and that it would end their marriage. He's not dealing with his own grief in that moment. He's talking about everything else.
Right, yeah. He's hyper fixating on her grief.
Right. And she wanted her husband back.
Right. And because and you're right, he would refuse to face his grief. How could he be there?
That was a great, honestly, fantastic ending. So much better than the wedding in Crystal Skull, which we thought would be the ending. Yeah,
I do like the saccharine sweet ending of Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I do.
But this was far more emotionally powerful. This one's actually going to stick with me.
Even the hat getting ripped off the clothesline, implying there are more adventures.
Well, yeah, that or Mary just likes the way it looks on him. You know what I mean?
Role play time.
Yeah, but I did like the obvious visual metaphor of hanging up the hat, and then he rips it down. Not so quick. Not so fast. Yeah, it's good.
I like that. Okay, so final two character Helena, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think a lot of people know who she is nowadays. If you don't know, she created a TV show called Fleabag, which is great. She was the creator of Killing Eve. She did the first season and kind of went off to other things. She's just a great writer and also a very fun actress to watch. But what did you think going in? Did you know her going in to this?
No, the only thing I knew about her name is that she's writing a Tomb Raider TV show.
Oh, of course you would know that. You're a big Tomb Raider fan.
Yes. That is the only recognition I had of her name. I didn't even know she was an actress until I saw the trailers for this movie. So I guess I'm out of the loop on Fleabag. However,
it's worth watching.
She's taken a lot of heat on this movie, and obviously it's totally unwarranted because she acts so similar to the very popular Uncharted game. She acts a lot like Nathan Drake when he was young. The way she's trying to flip artifacts in that room and stuff, it's all very reminiscent of those games to me. So I like Helena a lot. I thought she was a lot of fun. I like that she wanted these treasures for actual fortune and glory, very personal fortune and glory, right?
Mm-hmm.
She went at first, and then I like that through the adventure with Indiana Jones, she has to face the fact of, no one dedicates himself this hard to finding an artifact and memorizing journals for money.
Yep.
So I like her arc of having to realize, she's just been lying to herself about this.
It's almost very much like she is very much Nathan Drake, sure, but also Indy in Temple of Doom, which is a prequel, if you didn't know, to Raider. So very, if you notice in Temple of Doom, he's all about fortune and glory, but after that, everything's got to go to the museum because he understands the impact that this has on the world now more. And I feel like she got there too, very similar to him in Temple of Doom, that she's now where she needed to be. And she did take a ton of shit for this whole movie. I mean, just if I heard woke one more time, I'm just going to punch somebody in the face. I swear to God, I'm so tired of that word. I'm just tired.
It's a meaningless word.
Yes.
It means nothing now.
Pointless. And if you actually go back and look at the history of it, it was very impactful and for good reason when it first became. And then, of course, a bunch of idiots took it over and made it something, whatever.
Right.
But this isn't woke. This is actually a very interesting character that is phenomenal to watch, that I enjoyed watching almost as much as Harrison Ford, which is a pretty big accomplishment in a freaking Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie for me. And I loved everything she did. There's little moments that she had that I just thought were fantastic. There's where we first meet her and he's teaching a class, which is always the most boring parts of these movies. It's exposition alley. And she's over there and she looks at one kid and just bugs her eyes out, and I laughed my ass off. I think that's just a brilliant portrayal, and it just, for no reason whatsoever, just pops her eyes out at this kid, like, ooh, look what I did. I'm so smart. And she has a lot of those moments. She really, like, just makes her performance pop, and even when she's mad at Indy, she's still very charming, always engaging. Like, I think she's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's so funny. So funny.
I mean, I didn't even think about her arc mirroring his arc in Temple of Doom because I guess I'm dumb.
I've seen Temple of Doom way too many times.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Teddy and Short Round comparison's pretty on the nose, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you don't think Indiana Jones at that time, because people are really mad that she like talks down to Indiana Jones. Like, you don't think Indiana Jones would have talked down to some ancient adventurer at that age as well? Of course he would. It's just it's totally unfair. I don't want to get into the culture war, but yeah, I think the reception of the character has a lot more to do with her gender than anything. Which is
just whatever. It just pisses me off. And honestly, if you really want to talk about Marion Ravenwood was way woker. So I don't understand your argument or it's just shut up with that nonsense, please. Just please.
Yes.
It's drives me nuts.
And not for nothing.
She's great. Absolutely great.
She is great. And what I think the movie does well in regards to her and Indiana Jones is that he's still solving most of the mysteries.
She is too, though. She actually, I mean, she finds the location. She figures out exactly where the other piece is that's going to lead them to the second half of the dial. She figured that out. So they're doing split duty.
Right. Yeah. But like when they're in the tombs and stuff and he's doing the water displacement puzzles and reading the the sarcophagus and stuff, that's him in his element, and he's rightfully taking charge there. Or I guess even Teddy makes a joke to Helena that, is this guy in charge now? Like it's out. She may have started the adventure, but he's the one getting it to the finish.
Yeah, because he didn't really
cool.
care about this. He's just trying to solve his own, murder conviction here. And
right,
I guess.
Right, which is he still wanted for murder?
Thank you. I don't understand what happened at the end because it's like that never happened. I'm like, did he have a bloody fingerprint at the crime scene? I know fingerprints were a thing then.
Did he's like, hey, FBI, this is going to sound weird, but I went back to the year 200 or so. It's all fixed. Don't worry.
How do you sell this story? I guess they can write it up. Okay, look, he's obviously got dementia because this guy just told me he went back to 200 BC or whatever it was and hung out with this dude that built a time machine. I mean, he's wackadoo, right?
Right. He's old. He doesn't have long. Let's just leave him at home. It's fine.
But it is very much. I've seen it twice, and there's nothing that I caught. Maybe I missed it. Where they actually wrap that story end up comfortably.
Yeah, I don't see how they could have, right? Because the dial isn't a time travel thing, so it's not like Helena could go there and wipe his blood off. So like they just come back and he's still a wanted man.
Mm-hmm. So I love James Mangold, and I think this is a great movie. On the same token, that's one that was dropped. It seems like, unless I missed it, maybe it was a news thing that I just didn't hear it.
Let's hope. Yeah, I hope it was a newspaper somewhere.
Something. But this movie was so good, it made me stop caring about it. Put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, it is hard to get wrapped up in it. Another thing, the spear that stabbed Jesus that they find being a fake or whatever,
mm-hmm.
but he says none of the other artifacts are fake, right?
Right.
Is it supposed to be that they made that like the spear is made out of the metal from the plane that crashed or something like that? And therefore, it's not actually a fake.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. I did not think of that, so that's a good connection.
I was thinking about that on the drive home. I was like, if that's pretty clever, then actually,
yeah, that would be very clever. Kind of like along the same lines as they find the watch, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, because they go to like 200 BC, which means that So if they found the real spear of destiny or whatever the Lance of Longinus.
Yeah, Longinus or whatever it was.
Yeah, but it's a fake because it's made with two modern of alloys. I'm like, well, I think they had a resource for modern alloys to make a spear. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. And what also is interesting is that Henry Jones is still wanted for murder. God damn
it. He's got to be, right?
He's got to be. I guess that's why he still needed the hat. Because he's like, on the lam.
The FBI was knocking on the door. He's like, "Oh, we got to get back to adventure."
That's funny. All right, so let's talk about Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford, and because I want to go on the record that this is his fifth run, Indiana Jones. It's a phenomenal movie performance, in my opinion, and I would dare say, and I haven't disliked any of them. Even Crystal Skull, I think he did everything he was supposed to do. I find this to be his best overall performance because there are moments that are very, very powerful. It's not just action. There's real acting going on here.
Yeah, I can't find myself disagreeing with you. He's had more, charisma or charm in the past entries, but for what this movie is going for, like he nailed it. He was doing stuff that I didn't know Harrison Ford would even care to try to do, because you always get the grumpy old man Harrison Ford in interviews, right?
Yeah, I figure that is Harrison Ford. I think it's just him.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in this movie, yeah, there are several kind of tear-jerking scenes where he's giving the performance of his lifetime. Honestly, it's you can tell that this is Indiana Jones' last adventure, and it's Harrison Ford's last big adventure.
And you're a big Star Wars guy. Right? Or you were, I don't know. Are you still?
Yeah. Well, they murdered it out of me.
Okay. Well, they could do that.
I had
too much content, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But it's amazing to me how he was willing to go back to Star Wars and just get killed off because he just wanted to be done with it and probably stop hearing about it. He went back to Blade Runner, so he's going back to all his historic roles. But this is the one role it feels like he really cherishes this. Like this is the most important role to him. Based on every interview I've ever seen, based on every conversation I've seen him where he talks about his history. And why do you think that is? Because the guy's iconic. He's had some masterful hits. He's one of the biggest box office returning actors of all time. Why do you think Indy is the best for him? Any thoughts?
Well, I guess I'm sure part of it is just that, he got to, this would be his first major franchise where he was the lead role. But I'm sure there is some of it where, it's left such a legacy all these decades. And I don't want to, I do want to call out Star Wars fans. They're pretty obnoxious, whereas I feel like Indiana Jones fans he's met through the years are probably more reserved and capable of talking like a human being and really kind of telling them, what it means to them and stuff. Instead of being like, well, actually, Han had the DL-43 blaster in Return of the Jedi, but he should have had the DL-44. I mean, what do you think happened? It's just a different world.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I just feel that it's probably brought him a lot of joy, whereas, some other roles might not have, or even think about Blade Runner, right, which is a historic role, but think about how tortured that movie's development was, or how the version of the movie they made didn't even come out till 2007 with the final cut.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's got to be just this bright spot of, wonderful filmmaking, and he's working with these two guys who couldn't be more excited at the time, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, right? They're best friends, just making movies from their, replicating the things they loved from a childhood. So I'm sure it's probably just nothing but fuzzy memories with this character. And, not for nothing, but how many characters are recognizable by their silhouette?
It's true. Yeah. This is definitely a legendary film character.
Yeah, like when those old trailers said if a venture has a name, it must be Indiana Jones. It's true. You think about all the often replicated, but never, mastered, right? These movies, like people always try to do their spin, whether it's National Treasure or Sahara. People always try to make
Jesus, that's a pull.
People are always trying to make this kind of movie, but nobody's done it as well. So it's not every day you kind of inspire a whole new kind of character and a whole new kind of movie
for 40 some years.
Yeah.
It's
what about you? What do you think it is for him?
I mean, along the same lines, I think this is a more articulate character. It's more grounded, more level-headed. The realism is there. The quips are more in line with how Harrison Ford, I feel, would probably react to things. He's much more kind of a curmudgeon and,
right.
A reluctant hero. He's not the ridiculous hero. He's not a superhero. That's the one thing that I've always loved about Indiana Jones movies is he gets hurt a lot. He gets his shit beat out of him. And thankfully, he even mentions it here.
Oh, yeah. Going by when he's trying to climb up the rock wall and he's just
calling out his injuries.
Yeah. It's pretty good stuff. Yeah, that's what I was talking about at the beginning of this episode. That's one of my favorite things about him.
It's beautiful. Absolutely.
He is not bulletproof.
He is not. Although I will say, he gets shot in this movie and it's kind of in the chest, and he really does live a long time.
Oh, in the shoulder.
It wasn't the shoulder. It felt more like
it's
left
like
chest.
In between. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but
no heart.
Come on,
heart's not there. The heart's not there.
Right.
So.
And there's no. Maybe he's got some of that. Well, I was gonna say residual Holy Grail juice, but I guess that ended at the threshold, so maybe not.
Yep. Once you cross the threshold, right, you don't live forever. Saved Dad, and then Dad still died, and he got older. So should have hung out in that cave for a while.
just chill with that knight. Is that knight still hanging out in there?
That's a good question. That's a good question. What is the point? Like, what kind of sad life is that?
Just waiting for someone to. Yeah. What do you do?
He doesn't even have TV at this point. So
right, no books, nothing.
That's just. You sit around and talk to caves? I don't know, talk to the bugs?
See, that is far more far-fetched than going back to 200 BC.
Look, anybody that tells me that that's ridiculous, I'm just going to say, you've not seen the other movies. Period.
Right. A man's face melted off because he looked at a box in the first movie.
Yeah. And it went straight up to God and stuff.
It did. It's true.
Like, just, I don't understand.
And it neatly closed itself afterwards. How kind.
There has always been an outlandish element to these films. Always. An outlandish, otherworldly, supernatural, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, and this, and they explain it more with mathematics here than magic, so, it's not over the top.
I still think it's just a masterstroke that you go back and there's only one. Everybody's all excited about time travel, and you can only go back to one moment in time, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's not even a good moment.
It's the middle of a battle, just because Archimedes needed backup.
It just sucks.
No, I think that it was a super cool twist, an excellent subversion.
And it works because there's a good 10 to 15 seconds where I first saw the battle, and I'm like, oh, now I get what's going on here. Where I went, that kind of looks like Army of Darkness, and that's not a good thing. But it got better.
That'd be awesome. Did you hear a chainsaw revving in the background during one scene?
Thank God somebody else showed up. Yeah.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that comic book.
God, love this. Love this as a cap. I'm so glad they made the movie personally, because I feel like they righted a wrong. As much as I didn't hate Crystal Skull, and I love how it ended. It wasn't I couldn't tell people that was a great Indiana Jones movie. I just thought it was a good enough movie, and I just rewatched it.
It's a movie I would have to recommend with reservations, whereas this is not. There are no reservations. This is just a genuinely good movie. I think even if you weren't a big Indiana Jones fan, I think you could enjoy this. Man,
and when this debuted in Cannes, I always get it wrong.
I have no idea.
I don't care. It There were about 100 reviews that dropped on Rotten Tomatoes, right? So the critical score was around 50. And everybody said, wow, this movie sucks. It's bomb, blah, blah, blah. And James Mangold said, look, I'm very confident. He was on Twitter. I'm very confident I made a very good Indiana Jones movie. I think this is a very good movie. Just please wait to see it. Then it's caught up now. Reviews have caught up, and it's like 68%. So it's positive now. And the audience score is 88.
Yeah.
88. It's at the time of this recording. It's through the roof. People are loving it. So to me, just if you want to see it, go frickin' see it. It's a great movie.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Genuinely great movie.
Anything you want to say in closing on that? On this as where does it rate in the series for you? Do you want to see more with Helena Shaw? I mean, anything?
I will say I do not want to see more with Helena Shaw. I feel like this is the end of Indiana Jones for me. It's a perfect capper. I respect wanting to see more Helena Shaw. I understand if people want to, but for me, it's just this is the end. Well, until Harrison Ford dies and Disney, resurrects it behind his back.
they might just CGI his ass and make more of them. I don't know.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it is such a great ending to the franchise. I'm super happy we got this. Much like you, as much as I like the Indy Crystal Skull, I think this is a better place to end the franchise. I'm glad we got this one last adventure. And, I think it's a beautiful movie. I still think, all three of the original trilogy rank above it for me, but it's certainly above Crystal Skull. But it's hard to top those original movies for me.
I would put it really close to Last Crusade. For me, Last Crusade is number 3. Temple of Doom's 1. Raiders is number 2. And yes, I do think Raiders is a better made movie, but I enjoy Temple of Doom better, so that's what's going to be my number 1.
Well, similarly, Last Crusade is my favorite.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Why is that one? I think I've talked enough about Temple of Doom, so why is Last Crusade your favorite?
Oh, it's all the stuff with him and his dad and their inability to talk. It reminds me of me in my 20s and my inability to have conversations with my father. But the way they, it resolves by the end. And let it go, like when he finally says his name, Indiana, let it go. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a beautiful movie moment. And it's just it's just a lot of fun up until then. I like the solving of the puzzle with the Roman numerals. And I like that they both banged the same Nazi chick.
Yeah, that was actually that's twist.
So funny. But I agree with you. Raiders is number 2. No shade of Temple of Doom. Love it to death. Raiders, you're right, is it's certainly the best made movie of the trilogy. But so I agree with you there.
Probably of all of them, honestly. It is. I've often said I think Raiders is a perfect film in terms of production. There's no lulls. It flies. Everything is interesting. The characters are wonderful. I just like Temple of Doom more because it's like nonstop fun to me. So.
Yeah, I'm with it. In film school, I wrote a paper that was Raiders of the Lost Ark is the only perfectly made action movie.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
Die Hard would be close, but I love
Die Hard, but there is nothing. Though there is nothing I can think of right now to improve Die Hard, there is literally no way you can make Raiders of the Lost Ark a better movie.
No, you can't. One thing that I would note, and I hope, James Mangold, if you're listening, I just want to let you know, you made a better Steven Spielberg movie than the last Indiana Jones Steven Spielberg movie.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, which I felt very Raiders-esque this whole movie.
Yes, yeah. And no disrespect to, I mean, I don't think Steven Spielberg wanted to make that movie particularly, so that might explain it. Whereas James Mangold, thank you. Obviously, you wanted to make this movie.
Oh, God bless you.
You're 2 for 2 on taking historic characters and ending their franchises.
He is, except one's coming back in Deadpool. But
it's just stupid. Whatever.
Wait. Let's wait to see. Could be brilliant.
Fair enough.
Could be brilliant. But yeah, Mangold really, he crushed this one. Honestly, just crushed it.
Yeah.
And he got so much shit too. Him and Phoebe Waller-Bridge just so much shit from. It's just making it hard to really engage with people on the internet anymore, isn't it?
Well, it was frustrating because I feel like anytime you read anything about this movie, it's about, usually Phoebe Waller-Bridge. But then you look at the audience score and people are loving the movie. So it's just people dig this movie, but you don't get to hear them, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the algorithms are dictated towards making you angry. So you'll write something.
Negative is what media wants right now. I mean, that's all they're talking about is how, well, this movie's been a flop. Is it a flop? It's had a weekend. I mean, you don't know what the kind of legs this thing's going to have. You just don't know.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, if it is a flop, I'm happy. I still got an Indiana Jones gets a better ending and Disney loses money. That's a win-win, baby.
Jesus. Fans are happy. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, everybody that loves this franchise, these characters, and most importantly, Harrison Ford, who's, to me, my second favorite actor of all time, next to the gloriousness that is Kurt Russell. But he is pretty glorious. Yeah, he's pretty glorious. But Indiana Jones is my favorite film character. So I'm glad you're here for this because I wanted someone who loved it as much as I do. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel right. I'm really tired of negativity. Not that I can't handle real criticism, because I can criticize the shit out of Crystal Skull, but I feel like this movie deserved love.
Yeah, and I can criticize the de-aging CG. I can do that all day, but there's not a whole lot else to criticize in this movie.
Isn't it weird? And even wasn't it weird when his old ass was talking? With his young ass face, and you're like, I know what you sounded like at this face. Yeah.
Dude, I just watched Raiders last night before I saw this movie, man. I know what you sound like. You don't sound like a grandpa mumbling in the recliner.
It's probably where he did his line. It's where he did his ADR. He's sitting down drinking a beer going, oh, yeah, let me get that real quick.
Yeah. Nazis. I don't like them. Yeah.
Sorry, you started to say something about the de-aging?
I was going to say, but even that, I criticize it, but then I'm like, the sequence is awesome, so I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty great movie.
It is, man. I've seen it twice. Liked it just as much. Actually, maybe. And I will say I saw the in 4DX the first time, which is have you ever seen a movie like this or deep?
No, is that where they rock the chairs?
Yes,
and stuff,
it's like you're at a theme park ride. The chairs are bopping around. You're getting sprayed with air every time a gunshot breaks out, and it's cool.
You really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. And water sprays on you if there's a water sequence and stuff splashing and whatnot.
You were getting wet when the eels were there?
I don't remember if it's when the eels were there, but there was some definitely water splashing on me. And, and you have to wonder, like, where's this water been? But besides that, and the chair, like, every time you're in a car chase, the car goes right, you go right. It's just like you're in a theme park ride.
Okay.
It's great for an hour. And then you get really numb and unconscious.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to wonder if I have CTE, like those kinds of concerns.
Yeah. That sounds expensive.
It was like $20 a ticket.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
For an hour, apparently.
But I would not do it for many movies. It's one of those, it's got to be a special occasion.
Could you imagine a Transformers movie with those seats? Oh my God, you'd be dead.
No.
Yeah.
Does it rock every time you transform?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I got concussed.
They say it just squishes you in the chair.
All right, well, thanks for doing this with me, man. I really do appreciate it yet again. Where can people find you, of course?
Oh, yeah, you can find me at the Gaming Outsider, your sister podcast every week. where I use my expertise video game knowledge to correct our host Scott Clark's misinformation.
There's a lot of that. He doesn't do enough research.
You hear that?
Kid, I keyed. And always, you can find us at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And, there's a ton of podcasts. Go find them. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks, everybody, for listening. That's all we're talking about this week, because this is a movie that was on my most anticipated of the year list, and it has lived up to my own hype. So, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny is great. I'm going to let you guys go. Remember, the next time you head to a theater, I normally would say or stream comfortably from your couch, but no, go to the theater and see Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, because I believe it deserves to be seen on the big screen, and buy some popcorn. Right?
Right? Yeah, buy popcorn.
Yeah.
No such thing as a bad game. Games that aren't for you.
Shit. Take care, everybody.